These are my predictions for RWBY Volume 9. According to Miles, we're taking a detour, and that detour is basically what I'm guessing is either RWBY's equivalent to Purgatory or the trunk of Yggdrasil, the World Tree. So Team RWBY, Jean, and Neo have to find a way out of there. During this, Neo is finally going to realize that Cinder has duped her not once, but twice. Though it was technically she duped Roman in volumes 1 through 3, but Neo was along for the ride, so by proxy, she feels guilty of being duped by her then. And now just recently. And no doubt has taken the credit for stealing the staff of the lamp, and Cinder has made Neo the scapegoat for killing RWBY. Something that, while Neo would have wanted to do it herself, she would have wanted to do it without Cinder's interference. During this, I do believe the six are going to face ghosts of their past. For Neo, it's going to be Roman, who tells her, let it go, all of your anger towards RWBY. She had nothing to do with my death. Cinder had me played for a fool, and I fell by my own hand. And it was by my own hand I was done in. For Jean, it's going to be Pyrrha and Penny. I mean, Jean's going to tell RWBY that he had to kill Penny to spare the Wintermane powers, and this could end up souring the friendship a bit between RWBY and Jean, though I think RWBY will eventually forgive him. And both will tell Jean to let go and move on. For Weiss, I think she's going to be run into the ghosts of both her father and her grandfather. Jacques telling her that it was Ironwood that did him in. And Nicholas's blind pride and the kind of man he thought Jacques was ended up screwing him over. Him and the SDC over. Either way, both will say they are proud of what decisions Weiss has made. Although in Jacques' case, he'd be rather reluctant. In Blake's case, she'll run into a ghost of Adam, who will basically tell her that perhaps her father was right all along. And for Yang, it's going to be tough for RWBY and Yang. Well, for RWBY, it's obviously going to be Penny in the same way with Jean. And with Yang, that's tough to choose what ghost would come her way. To test her. And as for who would be the one to test them, well, I can think of one character who could test them. A character, their construct, or base that could be used by the CRWBy to test them to see if they're willing to go back to the physical plane. Although it'll be the brothers who will tell them if they should go, that they'll have a chance to go back, and it's their choice to go back and meet with everyone else in Vacuo. But as for the one who's going to test them, I say it's going to be a character based on one individual. A character who is known to be a guide through the underworld in one particular in the afterlife through one particular piece of literature. Yes, I'm referring to him. The CRWBy will probably make a character named Virgilian. And his character inspiration is obvious. The poet Publius Virgilius Maro, a.k.a. Virgil. Or more specifically, how Virgil is depicted in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Well, that's how I believe it's going to pan out. Now, as for Volume 10, when everyone gets back, Cinder's gonna learn. Salem is gonna find out from Tyrion and Mercury. Tyrion or Mercury that Cinder lied to Salem. And Salem is going to punish her until she confesses the truth about what really happened with the lamp. And then she's going to punish her again. Again, with the fact that Cinder went behind her back and used the last question to find out what was going on, even though it was used in a manner that benefited the villains to undermine most of the heroes' plans for Atlas. Now, Cinder knows she's on thin ice, because she doesn't have Mercury to fall back on. Hazel died, sacrificing himself to try to buy everyone enough time to escape. Emerald has hopped ship. Tyrion's a demented psychopath who's essentially Salem's attack dog. And she killed Watts out of spite. And Neo has finally, at this point, decided to hop ship. Now, during the time in the Void in Volume 9, I do believe some couples are going to be made. Going to be panned out. Namely, White Knight, which is Jean and Weiss, and Bumblebee, Blake and Yang. Though personally, I am still more of a Black Sun advocate. Because let's face it, Bumblebee is shoved too much down the throats of the fan base these days. I mean, sure, it was toned down in Volume 8, but Volume 7 was where it was at its worst. And possibly, in Volume 10, we may get some Rose Garden moments, which is Ruby and Oscar. Now, as for who the Summer Maiden is, I don't know who. But I've been building this theory in the back of my head as to who the spirit of the Sword of Destruction is. You know, the relic that's buried underneath, that's hidden in the vault underneath Shade Academy. Well, I've narrowed down my choice as to who the sword spirit could be based on. And I've got narrowed down to 3, and all of them have the same tie that Ambrosius has, Arthinian lore. The first choice based the spirit in the sword on the one who was constantly trying to destroy Camelot from both the outside and the in, but more so on the out. From without. King Arthur's half-sister, Merlin's arch-nemesis, the diabolical witch, Morgan Le Fay. Option 2, you base the sword spirit on Arthur and Morgan's illegitimate, incestuously conceived son, Mordred, who was more about destroying Camelot from within. Or option C, and this is a route I think that the CRWBy could go with this. I mean, could, but I don't say they will go this route. They base the character on the man who basically caused the domino effect that led to Camelot's downfall. Because of his famous affair with Queen Guinevere. Yes. Option C is basing the spirit of the sword, or the destruction, around Sir Lancelot. And whether the major reviewers would like it or not, What I'm saying for volumes 9 and 10 would hold some water to my does have some merit to my logic. In the end, will Vacuo fall? Maybe. At the end of volume 10, will Vacuo fall? Perhaps. I mean, Atlas is gone. Haven's been compromised. I mean, Mistral's been compromised. And Beacon is on a slow and Vale is on a slow rebuild. And we all know volume 11 is going to be the race back to Vale. And the final volume, volume 12, will be the battle back where it all began, at Beacon Academy, or what's left of it. And that is probably when both Cinder and Salem fall. Because let's face it, if Mercury decides to hop ship in volume 10, that's the death flag for Tyrion Kalos. Because at that point, Salem's inner circle is just down to herself and Cinder. And Salem would need to get involved directly from that point on, from volume 11 onward. Because let's face it, signs of Salem's downfall, while most people don't see it now, have been in the works. I mean, it started when the White Fang attack failed at Haven in volume 5, and Adam pretty much decimated it in volume 6. She lost Watts she lost Watts and Hazel to death this past volume, and Emerald hopped ship. Volume 10, it's Tyrion's turn to get the axe, and it's Mercury's opportunity to get out of this situation while he can. Though that said, both he and Mercury are going to serve, and Emerald are going to serve some jail time for their crimes. Though I think the judge might show some leniency, at least in Emerald's case. As for the aftermath, when Salem is finally slain, Salem and Cinder are finally slain, here's how I think it pans out. As much as I don't want it, Blake and Yang will end up as a couple together. Again, as much as I don't want that. Anyone who knows my values knows that I don't. Because, look, I don't mean to basically slap in the face of the LGBTQ community, but look at what happened with Nuts and Dolts. I mean, the minute they turned Penny into a human in the third to last chapter of this recent volume, you pretty much knew she was a sitting duck. You knew she was gonna die. And don't try to deny that. Nuts and Dolts was a ship that was doomed to sink in one way or another. Was it wholesome for what it was? Yes. But was it gonna pan out, given the plot progression? No, it wasn't. With Bumblebee, there's a lot more bumps and bruises on the road. Bumps and potholes in the road. But that's not here or there. Once Atlas is rebuilt, I see Weiss not taking over the I see Weiss choosing to not take over a rebuilt and reformed Schnee Dust Company. No, I believe she's going to hand the reins over to Whitley. Because now, as we've seen, with his father not in the picture, he actually is a good-hearted person. It was just he had to put on a facade. He was victimized into putting a facade that made him nothing more than his daddy's little puppet. Winter will become the headmistress of Atlas Academy, as well as being the Winter Maiden. In addition, Oh, and as far as Blake and Yang ending up together, I could see Yang ending up becoming the Spring Maiden because Raven doesn't really couldn't trust anyone with that power outside of her daughter if she ends up getting killed. Anyway, and Marrow becomes the new leader of a new and rebuilt Ace Operatives. And there's going to be some restructuring at Atlas Academy. Those who choose to become huntsmen and huntresses, they can opt to go independent and not be enrolled in the military. I could see Menagerie becoming an official fifth kingdom. Because it's not really a kingdom, it's just basically a colony when you think about it. With Gira being the chieftain. And they could establish a school there for faunus, who want to become huntsmen and huntresses. The White Fang Inn can be rebuilt, restructured. The Brotherhood of the Faunus can rebuild and restructure itself as a true peace group. I'm going off track. As to what happens with Weiss, well, I say she ends up becoming an Ark, marrying Jean. Here's hoping she doesn't pump out 7 daughters for him. It would be a nightmare all over again for him. If they have at least one, they'll probably name it after Pyrrha. And any sons, I think their first pick would be to name them after Weiss's grandfather, old Santa Claus himself, Nicholas Schnee. Could I see Crow and Robin getting together and forming a little nest of their own? Maybe. As for Ruby, we all know Ren and Nora are going to end up together. Flower Power or Renora or Thunder Lily, that's sacred. Even the most staunch LGBTQT advocates say that Ren and Nora is the one sacred pairing in RWBY. Just don't kill them off. I could see Emerald and Mercury ending up together after they serve their sentences in jail. And I could see RWBY ending up together with Oscar. Or once Salem's defeated, Summer is let go, or she dies. Yeah, I'm still of the theory that Summer Rose is still alive. She's just either being held prisoner in Evernight or has been turned into a grim human, silver-eyed grim hybrid. But that's about all I can think of in regards to the epilogue. As for Volume 11, again, Race Back to Vale. Volume 12, Final Battle. Well, they get to the Crown of Choice. Salem is slain. They conjure the gods. RWBY and Oscar show how they've succeeded in unifying the people against Salem. And from all 4 kingdoms. And the gods deem them worthy. And finally, blast Cinder and Salem to Kingdom Come. Cinder is incinerated by the power of the gods. Because, let's look at it this way. Cinder and Salem are cut from the same cloth. Both have been abused and tortured in one way or another. But here's the difference. Cinder wants to wants power for the sake of ensuring she never has to go through that kind of suffering again and destroy anyone who tries to subjugate her like that. That would include Salem. Salem, on the other hand, just wants destruction, and for the sake of destruction. She wants to die. And you wonder, who's more in the right? Who's more evil here? The Wicked Witch of the West or the perversion of Cinderella? Especially if Cinder is hell-bent on gaining the power of the seasonal maidens so she could try to overthrow Salem. As I said in one of my videos breaking down Cinder's character last year, not happening. That grim arm is like a leash. But as for who deals the kill shot to Cinder, I say it's Jean. He's got the most rage against her to pent up. The death of Pierre in Volume 3, the near death of Weiss in Volume 5, and the fact that he was more or less forced to kill Penny in Volume 8. And the latter most of which was to ensure that Cinder didn't get the Winter Maiden power. Which she didn't. It went to Winter. And I'm going to be blunt. If they bring everyone who's been killed thus far back, I'm going to be mad. Because the key to making Penny a human was more or less to kill her off. I hate to say it, but again, once she was turned into a real girl, she was a sitting duck, and you knew that the Star of Death was hovering well above her head. Oh, for those who don't get the Star of Death reference, death thing, it's from the Fist of the North Star, from the anime Fist of the North Star, or Hokuto no Ken. Basically, when a character is about to die, or has the signs of a death flag hovering over their head, and next to the constellation of the Big Dipper, or Hokuto as it's called sometimes, is a red star that pops up in the bait next to it. That star is known as the Star of Death. That indicates when a character is about to die. Or they're in a fight they know they're destined to lose. Though in some cases, this fate can be averted. Well, that's all I've got for this video. My thoughts of what's going to happen in RWBY Volumes 9 through 12 as we go from the end of 2021 to the beginning of 2025, when I believe this series is finally going to wrap up. I'm out. Mets2128 signing out. Leave a comment, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Goodbye. Good night. Bang.